Hello minions, we are halfway there. Matilda part 3 starting now.
Ba-bam, bam, ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam.
After filming part 2, I realized I had forgotten an important part, which was chapter 11, where Bruce eats the entire giant cake. So let's do a quick recap on that first. This is actually one of the more popular parts of the story, which is in both movies of Matilda. When Miss Trunchbull finds out that Bruce has eaten her cake, she tries to think of the most gruesome punishment. Of course, this punishment would have to live up to Miss Trunchbull's standards, and it was to eat the entire giant cake.
She made this cake just for you to have on your very own.
Yes, her punishment is literally force feeding. Now, we know how this story ends. Bruce succeeds in eating the entire cake. The important thing to go over here is when Bruce finishes 3/4 of the cake, and he feels that the audience is cheering him on. This seems to empower him to keep going and succeed. Now, this is no longer a simple punishment for Bruce, but it's a form of fighting against the tyranny of this evil headmistress. This actually reminds me of the famous Helen Keller quote. Alone, we can do so little, but together, we can do so much. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Ba-bam.
Now let's get started with part 3, chapter 12, Lavender. And straight to question 1. Lavender volunteers to prepare Miss Trunchbull's water jug. Why does she do this? What is she planning?
Ba-bam.
Chapter 13. The weekly test. Apparently in this school, the headmistress comes into the classrooms and starts testing the students. The first is Nigel, who passes the spelling test. Miss Trunchbull is quite surprised because she thinks she had given him a hard question. Nigel then replies, Miss Honey has taught everyone how to spell long words and encourages Miss Trunchbull to test anyone. She does as he says, and she is again surprised. Miss Honey seems to create these fun little songs to help children memorize spelling. And if you think about it, teaching this way requires a lot of creativity and preparation before the class, meaning more work for the teacher. Question 2. Now that we know Miss Honey's teaching method, tell me about Miss Trunchbull's teaching method. How is it different from Miss Honey's?
Ba-bam.
Chapter 14. Lavender's plan works. As Miss Trunchbull pours the water into her glass, the newt falls out and she leaps off her chair and screams. Not part of Lavender's plan, however, was Matilda getting accused first, and she kind of feels bad about that. Being accused of something she didn't do, Matilda is furious. Then, using her anger and her eyes, and a little bit of magic, she's able to knock over the cup. Although Miss Trunchbull, obviously, accuses Matilda of doing this again, Matilda just says, I have not moved away from this desk, Miss Trunchbull, since the lesson began. And suddenly, everyone arises and shouts, she did not move. She didn't do it. Question 3. What do you think made the class do this? Why did they suddenly get up and help Matilda?
Ba-bam.
Chapter 15. Matilda admits to what she had done to Miss Honey. Of course, as a normal human being, Miss Honey doesn't believe her at first. I mean, I don't think I'd believe her. But there's another question to be asked here. Question 4. What does Miss Honey think Matilda is doing? She doesn't think Matilda is lying. So, what do you think Miss Honey thinks?
Ba-bam.
Still with some doubt though, Miss Honey says, okay Matilda, show me what you mean. And Matilda is able to recreate this miracle of knocking things over.
Ba-bam.
Final chapter of this part, chapter 16. Matilda and Miss Honey go to Miss Honey's cottage. Strangely, it's actually her home. It's where she lives. And Matilda finds out Miss Honey is poor. Very poor. And here is our 5th and final question of today's video. Matilda finds it very difficult to believe that Miss Honey is poor. She couldn't believe it. Why is this the case? Why couldn't Matilda believe that she was poor? The answer is in chapter 16.
Ba-bam.
Alright, that is it for part 3. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. Like always, leave all your answers to the questions in the comments below and click in the link to join my free school page where you can get your free worksheets. I will see you next week where we will have finished the book, chapters 7 to 20. Bye-bye.
Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam.